Good evening, everyone. We're so excited to have you all here this evening. We are really thrilled to have a special guest tonight, and my dear friend Debbie Packard is going to introduce her. So, Debbie?
Thank you, Julie. I am thrilled for this opportunity. Angie Huntley is with us tonight, and I met Angie at my Pro5 Summit when we went um, to that together, and I'm just thrilled to be able to connect again here tonight. Let me tell you about Angie. We have some things in common. Angie has 5 grown sons and 2 grandsons, and she's been married to her best friend, Chad, for 30 years. She's a passionate advocate of emotional, relational, financial, spiritual, and physical wellness. Her heart is for others to know they are powerful in their own health journeys and the journeys of those they love. She's partnered with LifeVantage for the past 9 years. She's an executive consultant, yay, Angie, and a diamond seller with quite a diverse background, including a dance career that we don't have in common. She's a published author. She has owned businesses, worked in ministry, nonprofit, and the corporate world. And this business is her absolute favorite. And she's so grateful to now be living life on her terms. Angie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're just really looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with your team and always a joy to get to share just the power of activation and the power of this business. And so, whether you're here live or on watching on a recording, you're here because someone cared enough about you to possibly push through your skepticism, maybe follow up a few times, maybe even, dealt with you rolling their eyes and your eyes at them. And they did that because they want you to at least know about an option that is so special. And 9 years ago, I can say that because 9 years ago, I was that skeptical person. I was the one rolling my eyes, and I was the one that really didn't even have the bandwidth to hear about this. And my friend Chanel loved me enough to just keep at me. And I think it took 3 or 4 times. But she loved me and she loved my family enough to be persistent. And I think we kind of take on this mindset of, as much as it depends on me, I'm going to make sure that you at least know that this is available to you. And 9 years ago, I was very overextended. That was part of why I wasn't very open. I was executive director of a ministry and nonprofit here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. My family had decided to open a franchise restaurant, which doesn't align at all. But of course, most of my resume doesn't align with each other, and we just step into risk-taking adventures, and so we did. And at the time, we were also bringing in our fifth son, who was 15. He was joining our family, and he had been through just cyclical trauma of a really heightened degree throughout his life. And so that was a lot. And so you can imagine all of these things were going on in my life and no bandwidth, a lot of weariness. And on top of that, we were going through a pretty extreme health crisis with one of my youngest sons. And my youngest sons are identical twins. They're both 20 now. They were 10 at the time. And I had tried everything. And I'm a doer and I'm a fixer and I'm very solution oriented. And we had spent a very long time trying to get to the bottom, and I left no stone unturned, and everyone had an answer for me and nothing had helped him. And so it's why that took persistence for Chanel. And so if you're in that same boat and you feel like you've tried everything and you feel like you know about everything, I'm so glad you're here. And I encourage you to listen with a lens of skepticism because I think that does us good in today's day and age. We should be skeptical. We should be skeptical about what we invest our finances in, and we should be definitely skeptical about what we put in our body. And if something doesn't hold up to our scrutiny, we absolutely shouldn't move forward. And that's how confident I am about LifeVantage because I know that it held up to my skepticism and I know how deep that went. And I've had the privilege of being able to walk people through their scrutiny and their skepticism to look at all the validation that we have. And so we had a dramatic life shift. And so not only did we have a very powerful health experience on many different levels with many different members of my family after my friend had kind of broken in. And she said a few things that really got my attention, and I'll plant this seed there, but I won't spend a whole lot of time on it. But if it gives you an idea of the validity of what we have and even the business opportunity as well. She had told me that she was integrating these products after months and months and months of study into the care of all of her residents in her adult foster care home. She runs a privately owned nursing home. And the results she was seeing are really phenomenal, and they continue to be 9 years later. And it's part of just this wonderful movement in our area here in Southwest Michigan of what we get to see in that facility. But she was sharing with me some of the testimonies, and I had a really hard time connecting that to my 10-year-old because I didn't understand the science behind it. But I knew something special was happening. I knew she was diligent and she cared so much about her business and her residents. And I knew she cared about me, and that carried a lot of weight. And I thought when I listened to the information, I sat down and I listened with all the residents' families because her residents have such extreme results with nutrigenomics, which I'll explain in a moment what that is, that she pays as a business expense for every single resident to be activated. And I'll explain what that means also. And it pays because her residents are living longer. She doesn't have openings. She doesn't have a waiting list because people are living stronger and more well, and people are easier to care for, and her facility is easier to staff when people are feeling better. And it's just absolutely incredible. So she gets the family's permission by presenting the science, of which I'll do a little bit tonight, but not extensively. And it's going to sound too good to be true. I always tell people that. And so I listened to this too good to be true science through two different lenses. And one was, truly through the lens of a desperate mother. And the other was through the lens of just a serial entrepreneur. I was raised by serial entrepreneurs, and it's hard for me to ever shut off business opportunity. And so as I'm listening to this, I thought, if half of this is true, then the whole world needs this. And I love to help people. It's what I've done all my life. And I have this feeling I'd really love to save the world. And I know I can't, but one person at a time. And I thought, man, there's also a righteous anger rising up in me that if this works for my child, I'm pretty upset that I didn't know about it sooner. I'd love to be a voice that shares good news with others. And I lost my dad 20 years ago, and it really rose up in me too, because I thought, he would have given anything for any hope, for anything that we could have tried, and there just was nothing. And so my first purchase was actually into the business. I bought product as a business pack because the risk after you've remortgaged your home to start a franchise restaurant, I can tell you the risk is really low. So I jumped in just to see what happened, and we had some pretty radical health results in our family. And it was very easy to share because people share their problems with me. And it was just a wonderful thing to actually have a solution to be able to hand people to. And so I want to share with you why this is so special, why we stand up to scrutiny, and how we are different. This isn't just another call or presentation on another supplement company. We are actually what we would call the activation company, and I'll explain why. We represent, the people here, whoever invited you, represent a biotech company that has pioneered a science called nutrigenomics, which is the word nutra comes from the word nutrition, and genomics, it references your genome. And nutrigenomics is the way that nutrition or nutritional formulations signal your DNA to be expressed, regulated, and through really the intense quest of a group of scientists years ago, they were able to really kind of explode on the scene way before the Human Genome Project into this wonderful science called nutrigenomics. And so what we do and where we come in is we have nutritional formulations that look really similar to supplements. You're probably familiar with supplements, the whole world is. But instead of having nutritional formulations that are formulated to give you provision where there has been lack, that's what supplements do. If I'm lacking iron, I take an iron supplement. My glass isn't totally full, so I would supplement it with water. That's the concept of supplements. And the concept of nutrigenomic or nutrigenomic activation is we formulate those nutritional components. They may look like supplements, they may sound like supplements, but they're formulated to signal parts of your DNA that have gone dormant or have kind of gotten lazy. And a lot of people don't realize, even though they blame their DNA for everything, we blame our DNA for the way we feel, when we think we're going to die, what diseases we think we're going to catch because everyone in our family had it and we think it's hereditary. But 80% of your DNA is actually dormant. And only 20% is really active and moving and grooving. And 2% of your DNA is coded and really solid. Like there's nothing I can do about the fact that I'm 5'9", I have brown hair, I have brown eyes, and no amount of supplementation or even activation is going to make me 5'2" and petite. And there's amount of that coding that's permanent. But 98% of your DNA is influenceable. And so I want you to think of your DNA like this wonderfully programmed computer, far more complex than NASA's computer. But if you've ever heard people talk about NASA's computer, they've actually taught that 50 years ago, NASA's whole hard drive and wiring and programming was less complex than our cell phones now. Like this is more complex now than how NASA got people in space, which is mind-boggling. But I'm going to use a cell phone for that purpose to give you a great analogy of understanding your DNA, because people always want to get to the root of things, right? I wanted to get to the root of things for my son. I wanted to get to the root of things for my dad, which I was never able to do. But with activation, we actually get to the root. We're going deeper than just managing a symptom. We're going into the DNA and we're influencing it. And your DNA is being influenced right now, whether you like it or not. So we're not doing some hooky thing. It's, depending on what you ate today, you're influencing your DNA. If you smoked a cigarette today, you're influencing your DNA. And if you worked out today, you're influencing your DNA. But a team of scientists 60 years ago found that if they formulate nutrition in just the right way, they're able to powerfully signal your DNA to turn on pathways that again have gone dormant, and they really focus on the ones that are responsible for exponential healing and repair. So let's look at your phone a second. So right now, my phone is capable of so many things. It's not doing them. I'm not on a call. I'm not texting. I'm not emailing. I'm not on Facebook. I could even be on the Zoom on my phone. Some of you probably are, but I'm not. So there's a lot this can do that it's not doing, but it's doing a couple things. This is a picture of my grandson, which I know you can't see, but it's so cute. You would just die. It's so cute. And so it's doing that. It's showing me a picture of little baby Cooper. It's showing me what time it is. It's showing me a couple notifications, how much battery I have, what the date is. It's doing that minimal amount of stuff that's coded. But so much of this programming isn't being tapped into. And if it were our body not functioning in a certain way, many of us would just succumb to that thought. And we would think, I'm just not meant to have that function, I guess. I mean, my mom didn't have it. Her sisters didn't have it. It just runs in my family. I don't have that function. And we kind of just succumb to what our body's doing instead of what it has potential to do. So I know my phone has potential to do a lot. And if someone said to me one day before I knew about this, if they said, "Hey, Angie, did you know that you have a flashlight in your phone?" I might say, no, my phone doesn't light up. Maybe yours lights up, but my family's, no one's phone lights up. And they may say, "Okay, silly Angie, your phone is programmed. It's powered up. It has a bulb. It has everything it needs. It's just you have to know how to signal it. You have to know what switch to flip so that it will do what it was created to do." And if they said, "Hey, just touch right here," and then I did this, then oh my gosh, lo and behold, it's doing something that it was programmed to do. And all I had to do was signal it. It had the capability all the time. And so when we think that our products sound too good to be true, because that is what I thought. When I sat in my friend Chanel's adult foster care home and listened to the information, I thought, this sounds too good to be true. And the reality is, after 9 years, I can tell you, you have a body that was created in a too good to be true fashion. And where we've honed in on it is we found out how to signal just the right things, to target the right things, to help your body show off a little bit at what it's capable. Like I was showing off that I have a flashlight on my phone, and your body gets to show off a little bit in how it was created. And so, why we get to see the special things we get to see, I'm going to give you another analogy. I want you to think of the things that you've been diagnosed with, not for very long, because we don't want to focus on that. But there's quite a few people on this call, so probably this represents several diagnoses. I won't say, because a lot of you are activated. When I'm in a room where most of the people aren't activated and there's this many people on the call, I can easily say we're probably representing 30, 40, even 50 diagnoses. Some of you have one or two, and some of you have 12. But no matter what your diagnosis is, no matter what the person you love's diagnosis is, no matter what the diagnosis is that you never want, and no matter what the diagnosis that, it's not a big deal, I guess I'd live with if I had it, everybody else does. Let's represent all of those things by the top of a table. Think of a four-legged table, and I want you to just in your mind put every diagnosis on that tabletop. And in Western medicine and in supplementation, people really manage that tabletop. They just get that as clean as possible, as shiny as possible. They paint it, they varnish it, they cut out a blemish, they add something new in, but we focus on the tabletop. And what nutrigenomics does is it allows us to focus on the legs. And the concept is, wow, if I could get to the root, if I could get to what's supporting disease and just knock it out of the way. And that's what started the science of our products before our company was even a company. Because this team of scientists realized that just like the legs of a table, that all disease and aging are really rooted and supported in the same common cellular dysfunctions. There are cellular dysfunctions, or basically sickness in your cell, that are holding up disease and supporting disease and the vulnerabilities of aging. And their whole premise was, what if I knock a leg out from under this table? What if I knock out two legs? What if I could knock out three legs? That tabletop would still be there, but it might be like a lean-to or something. We're not even going to call it a table. My computer right now is at a four-legged table, and if I knocked one leg off this table, the tabletop would lose its properties and my computer would just fall. If I knocked two off, my computer would be toast. And so we get to signal the body to target those dysfunctions so they're not so much of an issue anymore. And we can't claim to heal, treat, or cure any disease, but what we can say is, man, I wonder what it would look like if it wasn't supported by all that dysfunction. And that's the beauty of nutrigenomics, that we can do that through nutritional formulations. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen real quick and hop over to a little more detail if I can. Let me move there we go. There it is. Okay. So LifeVantage is the company, the biotech company that I'm so proud to represent. And we're the biotech company that has pioneered nutrigenomics and nutrigenomic activation. And honestly, we are the activation company. We're so far out ahead because we were formulating these components before people knew about all those common dysfunctions. It's kind of a buzz now. People are starting to talk about it. But I can say that we really don't have competition when it comes to activation. And we are a publicly traded company. We are publicly traded on the NASDAQ. We're debt free. We have incredible leadership that's willing to take risks. And we have actual validation from media, which is really shocking in our culture. But we've been featured in Newsweek, on ABC Primetime Investigative Report. And you can see just layers and layers of value to just the amazing quality and integrity of the company that we have. As Debbie mentioned, I've been involved in many different industries, and I have never seen a culture this high level of integrity ever. And I'm pretty scrutinizing of that. And it's really refreshing from our corporate staff to our field of consultants, just what a high culture we uphold. And it's really an honor to be part of this organization. And I wanted to just talk tonight briefly about why now, why LifeVantage and why now. That CEO that I'm so proud of that was in the last slide, he made a really bold move a few years ago and shifted our whole compensation plan into a very different structure as the times and the culture and the regulations are changing in the FTC. And we are out in front of that. So we're seeing our company really thrive right now. And our compensation plan is something I'm just as proud of as our activators. And you can tell I'm pretty passionate about those. And the fact that our whole product line is activation or supplements that support activation really is something key. And so often, if somebody says, oh, yeah, you do that, I think this other company does the same thing, I can confidently say, nope, they don't. They don't do the same thing. We activate where other companies supplement. So where someone may say, oh, this is really good for you. Yep, there are a lot of things out there that are good for you, but activation is something that is far greater and is always going to be superior to supplementation. And so, after we made a breakthrough discovery 20 years ago at the University of Colorado in Denver, like I said, we weren't a company, where a team of scientists were addressing one of those legs on the table. They were looking at one of those dysfunctions that is a key issue underlying disease, unwellness, and aging. And they made a breakthrough where they activated this pathway called NRF2. It turns on and your body starts making these super antioxidants that can lower oxidative stress more than any food, drug, or supplement. And that's where the product line started really, really evolving. And what we see is a lowering of oxidative stress at least 40% in 30 days. And we see all of your 37 to 50 trillion cells being able to eliminate oxidative stress to the millionth degree every single second in every single cell for every single person that activates with this product that you see right here, this Protandim NRF2. And we have a whole line of activators that follow suit. We have an activator that activates a pathway that builds and strengthens your mitochondria, which is essential. And we have an activator that activates NAD, which is a buzzword right now. And people are trying to supplement NAD plus because it's so good for you, but it's just not as potent and powerful and efficacious as activating that pathway so that your body will make what it needs to create a healthy cell. And I often tell people, no matter what's going on in your body, it's made up of cells. And we have the ability to get every cell well. And that's really why we see the beautiful things we do. Well, 3 years ago, we added to our activation product line an activated collagen. And really, again, we're always looking for those legs under the table. And if you can think that way, that's the challenge, because sometimes we conform to culture and we think collagen must be a cosmetic product. But the reality is every cell in your body relies on this most abundant protein called collagen. Your brain cells, your heart cells, your connective tissue, your joints, your ligaments, and your skin. So while we'll see change on the outside, we also see wonderful things on the inside. And some of the changes we see on the outside when people are activating their collagen production, where the collagen density of every cell increases 100% within 8 weeks. And it also activates your body to protect it from loss. We're seeing amazing things happen on the inside. So if you look at this face, you can think, oh my gosh, wow, what an incredible cosmetic product. But when I look at this, I see this is what's going on in the heart. This is what's going on in the brain and all over it. And a lot of times when our cells are getting healthy and there's wonderful things happening on the inside, the outside starts to show it and exemplifies this look of health and this look of vibrancy and this look of wellness. Our product line extends into topical activation. We have a skincare line that lowers stress oxidation. Literally, your skin is your largest organ. And so being able to take that same activation that I spoke of before and apply it topically to your skin is pretty amazing. Our most recent addition into our activated skincare line is called True Renew. And it's a like plant-based nutrigenomic activator that you will see be more effective than what people are trying to find in a retinol. It's not a retinol, and that's wonderful because most people have trouble and side effects with taking a retinol or utilizing a retinol. But through activation, this is the difference of activation. Through activating your skin topically, we'll see visible results, and we'll see results where other people, it might take them 11 different products to see 11 different types of results. And we see it just with this one product. And that kind of is a great example to show you how activation is so much more superior than supplementation. We've seen that NRF2 activation that lowers oxidative stress spin off, and not only that technology be able to be applied topically to our skincare and our hair care and scalp care. People also give it to their pets, all mammals, dogs, cats, horses, cows. We have a pet product that can be given to smaller animals as well called Pet Tandem. But that NRF2 activation was kind of carried over into this drink that really focuses on lowering stress oxidation and the neurotransmitters. It gives you this mental clarity and focus and really powers your brain. And in kind of the way that people are trying so hard with energy drinks, which are terrible for you. So on the very surface, it's a great natural and healthy replacement for an energy drink, but going deeper, it's an accumulation of empowered brain health. And my father passed from a neurological degenerative disease, and I'm very passionate about brain health because I realized through the journey of his progression and deterioration in his disease process was that, you know, if you have lost your brain health, it doesn't matter how strong your heart is. When your brain isn't functioning, that really controls everything. And we lost my dad far before we lost him because we lost his brain. And so, what a wonderful investment in brain health with this drink. And we have a larger product line with essential supplementation. And we really, with any supplements we do, we revolutionize the way they're done. We really only have supplements in our product line if they're essential. And if the market isn't producing an adequate offering, we will shift it so that it actually can be absorbed and has the result in the body that people are looking for when they're investing in gut health and getting those essential vitamins and minerals that people think they're getting in a multivitamin and so on. But our most recent activation offering was released in October, and we call it Mind Body. And it's a GLP-1 activation system. And GLP-1 may sound familiar to you because pharmaceutical companies are advertising a synthetic supplementation form of it. But we're different, remember? We have a plant-based formulation that signals the pathways in the DNA that are responsible for producing and regulating not only GLP-1, but the other hormones in the gut-brain axis that really need to be and should be playing nice and cooperating with GLP-1. And you have many of them. And those hormones, when regulated, change the way you think about food and hunger and shift your metabolism while also being neuroprotective and offering health and protection to the pancreas and to the liver and circulation. But we see metabolic health really balance, and we see BMI change with people. We see people build muscle and protect muscle while eliminating visceral fat up to 27%, and that's the dangerous fat. And so we, you know, having that weight loss, but also metabolic health and organ health offering with that mind body GLP-1. And lastly, I have to cover the product, which I think is just as beneficial as all of the activators, is our business. And we call our our compensation plan Evolve. And that is a way to step in and earn. And I want to just share personally, when I stepped into this business, we were opening our franchise restaurant. Again, we had to remortgage our house to start that restaurant. And to keep the restaurant open, our business expenses without us getting paid, which we didn't get paid, was $30,000 a month to pay the employees, pay for inventory, pay our lease, pay insurance, pay taxes, and the list goes on and on and on. Building repairs and so on. 30,000 every single month. And I didn't get paid. Every now and then I'd try to get paid and that would go away. So if anything, my pay went down. And when you're a business owner, you are the last to get paid when you have a brick and mortar business. Well, at the same time, my son had a health transformation and everyone wanted to know about it. And I had the support of a team and I shared a link and my income started growing without a whole lot of effort at the time. And it caught my attention that I had no building expenses. I had no rent. I had no employees. I didn't have set hours. I didn't have to find a sub if I couldn't be there. And just by sharing a solution. And so I like to share with people some of the different ways that we get paid. When I get a customer, I get 30 to 40% based on whether they order one time or on retail. So you can work up to 40% based on how much you've grown your business and making customer sales profit and getting a bonus on how many customers that are returning to you month after month after month. And as you start this business, before you have time to build, the company recognizes that and they have really great bonuses that they give to people in their first 3 months of building so that they encourage them with a paycheck to stick with this because most people will stick with it when they get paid. And we also can, with what I just said, I can tell you we attract affiliate people. We attract people who just want customers and don't want to grow a team. But we have really great pay when you want to grow a team. And there we have level commissions going at down to 9 levels. And two of my favorite ways that we get paid, because we have a lot of ways that we get paid, are one, we have a leadership match that when you reach a certain point and a certain rank in our company, you actually start to get a percentage of some of your up and coming leaders that are part of your team that you're mentoring, and you don't take away from what they get paid, but the company will match a certain percentage. And that's pretty exciting as you start pouring into others and helping others and locking arms with people who need this business financially to change their lives as much as the products have physically changed their health and wellness journey. And when you get to the top levels of our company, the executive levels, we have this amazing thing called the leadership pool, where the company takes a percentage of our global sales profit. So it doesn't even matter what team you're on. It's however the company did for that month, it's divided into shares for the executive leaders based on their rank on how many shares they get. And that gets really special. Here's a QR code if you're interested in looking into more of that compensation plan. You can follow this here. And if you miss this QR code to take you to information about the compensation plan, whoever invited you to this call would be happy to connect you with that and explain the compensation plan a little bit more. I just love to share with people briefly our income disclosure statement. Part of being publicly traded means we're audited 4 times a year. We can't lie to you. This is public knowledge. But when you look at this second column, I'm sorry, the third column from the left, the average monthly commissions at each paid rank, everything in that first column on the left, those are the ranks of the different consultants in our company. And everyone has a different goal. When I first started, I just thought, hey, it would be great to pay for our products. I'd love for all my kids to be on it. I have a lot of kids. We have a lot of dogs. We've had a lot of health trauma. Let's pay for these. And so getting into some of these ranks where a $300 or a $500 paycheck can make all the difference. But then dropping down into some of these managing ranks where you see when you hit managing consultant two, and you start getting around the $3,500 per month more. And if we look on the far right, what I think is so beautiful is we can see how many months on average it takes people to get to those ranks. For the people who are hitting managing consultant one, that it's taking them an average of 11 months, which are going to go by whether you're working this or not. So how exciting is it to possibly take 11 months and see if could I be one of those people that has an increase of a few $1,000s more per month? And then we start to see up in the executive levels where there's life changing and legacy changing, career changing finances and payment that happens with, above 10,000, above 5 figures per month, and at our highest level, getting into 6 figures per month, and the amount of months it takes to do that. It takes work. I'll tell you on this next screen with proper disclosures, a lot of people hop in and don't realize what's involved and they never share it with anyone and they might not make any money. And then you have other people that soar. And so you really make out of it what you put into it. And sometimes there are expenses like my internet so that I don't drop off this Zoom call or my cell phone, so I can use it as an analogy when I present. And we get to decide in this business what expenses we choose. There aren't any forced expenses. We don't even have to carry inventory or have a personal purchase ourselves every month. I recommend that you do, but it's not even required. And these are a couple leaders on my team, and everyone has different goals, whether you're hitting that SC1 goal or you're in that managing group, or I would love to go to the top. I love being at the executive level and experiencing that level pay. We had a restaurant that COVID shut down due to supply chain, and we still pay on that. So hitting the executive ranks really helps me to not feel the weight of what that did to us. And then I had a corporate job that shut down after COVID as well. They just shut the doors. And so building this and sharing a little here and there left me a landing pad where I didn't have to be desperate and panic and send out my resume everywhere, which is what I really didn't want to do. I had built something that was working for me with leveraged income. And so there's a few different ways to enroll. Sometimes people get to this point and they say, well, what do I do? You really just choose an enrollment pack, and we have anything from $50 packs to $1,000 packs. And you start the products, you get on subscription. One of my favorite packs is the multiplier pack, and it has 3 of our top selling products, that Mind Body, our NRF2, and our activated collagen. And getting 3 of those, so that $999.99 is maybe 3 people in your family start on that. And then getting on subscription for that pack that you can get every month for $300. And we also have a business pack, and that's one of my favorites because it contains almost all of our products. And I think it's important, if you're serious about the business, to be exposed to our product line and see what is that skincare like. And oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that you had a fat burn product that targeted visceral fat. And that just kind of introduces you, because you will have people get on your website and they'll ask you about it. And it's nice to kind of know that it exists. And so from there, let me stop the share. From there, whoever invited you and your enroller will help you understand the business and support you and get you all of the information and resources that you need to really go for your goals, whether they're small or big. And honestly, people's goals evolve. And sometimes people say, I just don't have interest in the business. But the wonderful thing is you can just be a customer. And if you're not interested in the business, I'll tell you, you are not the person I want as a consultant. I want people who can grasp the vision of the business, but I love to help people with the products as a customer. And so make sure whoever invited you kind of knows where you stand and can answer any questions you may have. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I think I went a little over 30 minutes, so I apologize for that. Man, I'm long-winded.